Good morning, gang. Happy Wednesday morning. So, we all see it coming, all right? We know the end times, the end is near, or whatever it would be, whether it's the end times for humanity, whether it's the end times for the earth, whether it's the end times for Western civilization, okay? We can all see it. I mean, if you're blind, you don't. If you have this unwavering trust in the government, then more power to you. Go off and believe in your, leprechauns and unicorns and enjoy your day. The average empire in the history of man has lasted somewhere around 200 years. Okay, we know that. It's factually proven. And there's always something that brings down the empire. Well, the United States, we're pushing 250, so we're living on borrowed time right now. We know that. Okay. Something's going to change. And what is the cause? There's a lot of them, okay? Usually you get into economic causes, or countries are wiped out, taken over by marauding masses, whatever it would be. You go back to wars between, the Crusades or however, spreading religion or eliminating a group of people, however it would be. You have probably the most common one, because they all kind of fall into the same one, where morals just go out the window. Now, when the United States was founded, it was based on Judeo-Christian values. I'm not saying that you've got to be a Christian or you've got to be religious for that mean, but the basics for the founding of the United States were Judeo-Christian values. And you think about some of those things. In the United States, for example, we view lying as bad. Okay, we view poor business practices as bad, as cheating somebody. You go into a business here in the States or in Canada or Western Europe or anything, and you get good service, you return to the business. You get screwed over by the business owner. They sell you something that doesn't work or rip you off or anything. You don't go back and tell two friends and so on, right? In some parts of the world, you're looked upon higher if you screw over your customers. It's an interesting paradigm that how people live their lives. And what we're seeing now in Western civilization is a complete lack of morals. And will this destroy our society? Yes. And the funny part is, when SHTF happens, it's not like at 11:06 on Thursday, January 12th, SHTF happened. And that's it, okay? If the entire world explodes, yeah, there's going to be a finite time in history that the end of the world was. But it's not going to happen at a precise moment. It's something you build up on. It's like the old comment about going bankrupt. How'd you go bankrupt? At first slowly, and then all of a sudden, okay? It's the same thing with SHTF. It's the same thing with collapses of the world. I say that it's morals because you can go back throughout history and look at the collapse of empires, if you will, and you can break it down to satanic ideas, all of a sudden worshiping evil. Okay? When gambling, when drugs, when prostitution, all of a sudden is completely acceptable, empires fall. Okay. I mean, you go back to the Roman Empire, for example, and why did the Roman Empire fall? Well, you had a, put this politely, sexually free society that started to worship homosexuality, started to worship effeminacy, and the countries got weak, or the empire got weak, and barbarians were able to come in and just steamroll the empire. Poof, empire over, right? Just one example. I ran across something this morning that was very disheartening, if you will. And it was a study done on the percentage of people in the United States. Well, I guess in the United States. Just different ethnicities of people as well as broken out. On how many people in the United States believed open marriage, in other words, having other partners, dating or sexual, was acceptable. And the results sickened me. I want you to look at this chart so you can see what it is. Okay. Take a look at this real quick. I'll let you read all of this, but if you just look at the first 6 categories, roughly 1/3 of this country, all adults, men, women, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, more Asians, think that an open marriage is totally acceptable. Okay. You look at it broke out by the age groups. Okay. The younger you are, the more acceptance of your spouse out. Hey, I got a date tonight. Okay. I can't comprehend that. Okay. You want to be single, be single. Okay. Go out and have dates. You want to be married, it's committing yourself to one person. Okay. That's just what it is. If you want to have dates after you've married, that's what divorce is for. Okay, hence the reason why we see half the country getting divorced too. Okay. But if you look way down to the bottom, okay, where it says Republican or leans Republican, Democrats or lean Democrats, 2/3 of Republicans say it's unacceptable. The scary part is 1/5 still think it's okay. But the other side, where nearly half of liberals, half of Democrats find an open marriage as acceptable, tells me for the 8,420th example that we have, that liberals have no morals. They have no morals, they have no sense of responsibility, they have no intelligence, they have no common sense. Okay. What will cause the collapse of the United States is a lack of a moral compass. You know, you go back to the 1970s, and I know every generation always says it was better when I was a kid. I heard it from my parents, no doubt they heard it from their parents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of it's true, okay? I mean, I wasn't around in the 50s, but the 50s looked like it was a pretty casual, one income, you could afford a house, kids could go out to play, yada, yada, yada. That lasted till about the 1970s, the 1980s, it got a little too crazy, and by now you wouldn't let your teenager go down the street without being watched. Let's put it this way. But you go back to even the 70s. Gambling, you wanted to gamble, okay? You go to Vegas, maybe there's a little in Atlantic City. Sure, you had the neighborhood poker game or whatever it was, but you didn't have casinos everywhere. Prostitution, well, it was basically illegal, except for maybe a couple of spots in Nevada. Okay. Drugs, you know, sure, they were out there, nothing like what's out there now, okay? And none of it was legal. I know, and there's going to be some people on here who go, marijuana should be legal, whatever it is. That's fine. You have your belief, I have mine. We'll just leave it there, okay? But now these days you have gambling in basically every state, okay? I mean, between lotteries or casinos or whatever, you go anywhere and, you know, you want to play poker or blackjack or roulette or whatever, no problem. You know, drugs, I mean, hell, we have states on the West Coast are legalizing hallucinogenic mushrooms. How long is it till crack is legal? And Hunter goes, hey, you know what? Cool, look at this. I've got my new business. Prostitution. Let's take a look at this. I mean, anybody right now could go online and in 5 minutes have a date. Okay. It's socially acceptable to have these OnlyFans accounts, right? I mean, the biggest industry on the internet is online porn. Go figure. Okay. This is where the moral compass of the world has gone to shit. And it will be our downfall, because the more that we are talking about, mutilation of teenagers' bodies, where it's totally acceptable to identify as a cat. I showed you guys the clip, a year or so ago, about the difference between Russian military recruiting commercials, Chinese military recruiting commercials, and the U.S. Army's "My Two Moms." Okay, yeah, okay. We're turning very quickly into a country of pussies. Pardon my French. What's going to happen? The same thing that happened to the Roman Empire. Okay, as we effeminate the United States. I mean, toxic masculinity. Oh my God, you can't act like a man anymore. Really? Okay. I mean, there's a term that's bandied about all over the place. Oh, you have to refer to me by my pronouns, because I can't figure out, whether I should stand up or sit down to pee. You honestly don't think that China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, the cartels, anybody isn't out there watching this and going, maybe tomorrow, but we're damn close. And they're going to steamroll us, just like the barbarians came through and steamrolled the Roman Empire. Okay. We have no moral compass. We've kicked God out of our lives. Okay. And God has lifted his hand off of Western culture and says, you're on your own. Okay. We've done everything we can, not personally, okay, but the country has done everything it can to destroy the moral fabric that made this country great. On that day, at the time when, starting slowly and then all of a sudden, when we go to hell, when SHTF starts, you're going to be faced with these people that caused the demise of our society, of your livelihood, who are going to be the ones that knock on the door and say, I'm hungry, can you help? How are you going to answer that question? You're the one that's the cause of what we're in, and now you expect me to save your ass? Ain't happening. I'm not saying that everybody that's on the right is good. Obviously, we can see 20% of them from the chart I showed you believe in open marriage, okay? Believe in the demise of society. I'm not going to say that everybody who's voted Democrat in their life is persona non grata. The ones who are supporting the Democrat policies now, yeah, they're persona non grata. But if somebody comes back and says, hey, you know what? I voted for Bill Clinton back in the 90s. I wised up a little bit and said, hey, you know what? The Democrat Party left me, okay, like we hear all the time. Yeah, the people that are wised up, okay, you're forgiven for your past mistakes, no problem. If you continue to do the same thing over and over, that's the definition of insanity. But think about this. What's going to happen? Your community, your mag, whatever, your family, how well do you know them? A lot of you tell me that, my spouse isn't on board with my prepping, my kids don't believe in it, or anything like that. The tough decisions are going to have to be made very, very soon. Who do you cut loose? And that's going to be tough. I mean, can you cut your kids loose? Can you cut your brothers and sisters loose, your parents loose, your spouse loose? Because they still believe that Joe Biden is doing a good job, that Gavin Newsom might make a good president, that Kamala Harris is a brilliant vice president. The people like that are going to be speed bumps on the road to coming out the other end. Something to think about. Pinball out.